Hey there, Dream Chasers. This is Hannah Pride, and welcome to Pride and Shine, the podcast where we explore the innovators and influencers of Dubai. Proudly sponsored by Pride Migration, your dedicated partner to make Dubai your reality. Welcome to the show, Brook. For people that don't know, I know Brook as Ecom with Brook, but Brook is founder of High Ticket IO.
Thank you very much for having me. Very happy to be here.
I'm so happy to meet you too, finally. Brook, as I said, is an Instagram friend, someone I've followed for a while now, and someone that's really, really inspired me. Something I actually want to pick up. Your video, when you click on that link of all the people that have signed up and the stories, what a great marketing video. I've watched it about 3 times and I've sent it to people saying, this is so captivating and it's something that's so raw, because I'm guessing you film videos when you're doing sales calls with them.
Yeah, so it's like that's what would be on the marketing side of things, like a VSL.
Yeah.
So it's in my Instagram bio, but if we are running ads for a coaching program, that's the video that we send people to. So that is like the number one asset that drives this customer. So people watch that video and then they'll book in a call and then ideally join.
And for anyone listening, go watch it, because I have sent it to about 5
Please
people.
Please do go watch it, yes.
No, Jenna, I've sent it to about 5 people. Like, I've never seen something so raw. And usually people ask, I guess, good marketing tip for anyone listening, they'll say, do an end review saying this is what I've learned. But I feel like yours is captured on the call, so they're saying it naturally. And it made me be able to connect with it on a much higher level. But yeah, just wanted to tell you, so it came to my mind. But obviously, for people that don't know yourself, you have built an absolutely astonishing business. You've been able to build a business. It was $5 million in less than 18 months, which, just tell people, when I looked you up and when I was researching you, I was like, I do not understand drop shipping. These numbers are crazy. How did you fall into this game?
Yeah, so when I got started in business, I was actually in law school. So how law school works is law school is 3 years. So you do your recruitment in year number 2. So I did my recruitment in year number 2. I got a job. So then what works is you get the job in year number 2, you go back to school, and then you go work at the firm that you got the job at. So I got a job at one of the best firms in Canada in my second year recruitment. I summered there after my second year, and then the third year was starting, and I was like $180,000 in law school debt at the time from paying tuition. So I asked the firm, hey, can I work during my third year, just for some side income to help pay this debt back? And they said, no, you can't, or else we'll have to offer it to all the students. So makes sense to me, I guess. So then I was looking for other ways that I could start to make some money to help pay this huge debt that I had hanging over my head back. So I started with normal dropshipping, which is essentially just where you sell products from China. So cheap items that pet carriers, lava lamps, these sorts of things. So I started with that. I failed 10 stores. And then I heard about this other model that was different. So it's still technically dropshipping, but rather than selling these products from China, you partner with high-end luxury brands in the US that customers like already trust and know, and you sell their products. So then I started doing that, and I made my first ever sale on October 21st, 2021 for like over $14,000. Wow. As a complete beginner, yeah. And then second month we did $150,000, third month $215,000, and then I literally, in my final year, dropped out of law school to go all in, and the rest is history.
It's crazy, because you've honestly succeeded far beyond most people I've ever read into dropshipping. How does the luxury brands, is it still selling them, I guess, on Amazon Marketplace, or is it like a different level that you sell Marketplace?
So a lot of the products we sell wouldn't be on Amazon because they're so expensive. So, for example, my number one best-selling product was like an infrared sauna. So like a huge sauna that you would have in your home gym, or like that wealthy people would buy. So the average order value would be $7,000 to $10,000. So Amazon's great, but the one downside of Amazon is there's not really any customer service. So if someone's going to go order this product, they can't like call and ask someone who knows their stuff about saunas about the product. So you build what are called like specialized stores. So I had like a sauna store. So all we did was sell saunas online. So then if customers came to our website, they could ask me whatever they needed to know, and I could give them the support right away. And then whenever I made a sale, it would be, $7,000 to $10,000, and we sold these high ticket, expensive items.
It's crazy. And do you think the skills that you learn, I guess, in law school from reading contracts and literature, do you think it was very transferable into the sales role?
That's an interesting question I've never been asked, but I think indirectly. So not a lot of the direct skills, like reading contracts and that stuff, but writing, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ever a great writer until law school, and law school made me a very good writer, which helps with our website copy, writing our VSLs, or writing our ads. So it made me a very good writer, and I think more than anything, what law school helps the most with is just the way you think about things. So like, usually people are very black or white. They'll have like a strong opinion one way or the other. But in law school, they'll do things, they'll say like, imagine you're the lawyer for this criminal who's killed someone and they're guilty, but you have to defend them and say why they're not. So it kind of it flips your thinking, how you normally think about things, and you can see things from both sides, which I think has definitely benefited me a lot in business. And yeah, I think it's, in certain ways it's helped, certain ways it hasn't, but it's definitely helped my work ethic and discipline. So I can lock in and focus on work and do deep work for 4 or 5 hours without getting distracted.
I do think that is one thing that everyone learns from university, and I guess university now is becoming more and more frowned upon. I always say to people, if you're going to university, you have to go there to be a lawyer, a doctor, a dentist, something that you would generally need the qualification for. But for someone like you that obviously seen your why was the debt that was probably lingering over you and probably causing a bad mental state, and this is from an outsider, you've looked at the positives that I would look at university. I personally think, and you'll be the same now, you've got the sale of skill that you maybe didn't have with your law degree, but you've combined it with a law degree. And it's obviously, university in general gives that high-end concentration that you have a task and you have to get it done. And I think the people that, and I want your opinion on it, the people that miss out on university and you don't have those high-end tasks along with the side of a job most of the time, do you think they then would struggle going into a drop shipping or any type of business, because I guess you have to have that micro focus at the same time usually having a hustle or a real job?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. Like, for example, previously I would always feel bad about getting started so late. So I didn't start my business till I was 25 when I first started. But then
It's not late.
But there's people here
young.
in Dubai who are like 18, 19 doing huge numbers. So I think like, if only I started that young, but then at the same time, if I didn't have those 3 years in law school, I probably wouldn't have had success as quickly as I did.
100%. And you know, that's so interesting you've said that about the 18-year-olds and whatnot, because they're very in high concentration within Dubai, because they have that high hustle culture, and they all move here because it's a better lifestyle and they want to be around individuals like yourself. But if in hindsight, if you look at history and you look at facts, people never used to make a lot of money until their late 30s and 40s. And this is a new generation. And I also think as well, although these, like, we're the same age, but although these people younger than us are making high like ticket prices and doing obscene numbers, I'm always curious, will they be able to keep the money? Because at such a young age, or will they be able to live a long life? Because at such a young age, where does it plateau? Like, they're already driving the fast cars, already doing everything in such excess that usually it took someone twice the life they've been over there. They've not really experienced what we've experienced going to university. They've not experienced, I guess, a lot of hardship. It's been a very maybe hardship, but maybe for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
Where does it end?
I agree. But I think I think anyone who gets into business, I think if you make a lot of money very quickly, you're inevitably going to lose it.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of these people who do make money young, they will lose it. They'll learn their lesson by 22.
Yeah.
Where I didn't really have a period where I lost a lot of money, but I did go through a period where I was probably spending way more than I should have for where I was at, which I guess is the same lesson in a different way. Maybe it wasn't as extreme because I was a little bit older with a bit more responsibilities. But I think anytime you go from living almost like you having to watch your expenses when you go out, like what clothes you buy and where you eat for dinner and stuff, and then all of a sudden you don't have to worry about that anymore. It is probably natural to veer a little bit too much to the extreme, but then you can learn your lesson in the correct course. But you're right. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see what a lot of these people actually end up doing later on.
Because it's really interesting, because I feel like going back to your $180,000 of debt, that's a lot and obscene money.
Yes.
And that's like a big drive that probably was a fundamental why at the start. Obviously, you've probably cleared that now, but these guys probably have never had that, and they've came into fast money, so I feel like they've maybe not had the stress that other entrepreneurs have had, where it's been like, I cannot eat, like this is the fundamental drive.
You're right. Yeah, because thinking back, it was literally like, I guess it depends who you are. So if you're someone who does well with your back against the wall, then putting yourself in that situation where it's like, you have all this debt, you have to pay it off, and that's something that I did. So in law school, my parents wanted me to graduate. They said, like, go graduate, then you can do e-commerce. But my thinking was, I don't want to have, like, I knew my whole life I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have an avenue to actually pursue it. So once I started seeing success with e-commerce, I didn't want to go graduate law school and then have this job that's like a $150,000, $200,000 per year job that if business got hard, I could just go back to that. I wanted to say, like, I want to do business, I'm dropping out, so I have to make it work. So I'm dropping out, I have $180,000 in debt, I have to make it work, and then I did.
Yeah, it's make it or break it. And that's what I think a lot of people in Dubai that have been here for maybe 5 years plus, they maybe started their business in Dubai. So there was that make or break, which it's interesting having conversations. And you're one of these people that had a make or break. But when you interview someone that's not had a make or break, you're like, where's the hardship came from? This is crazy. It's like Monopoly game for you. But then what happens? Like, where is the plateau?
They don't have respect for what they've built.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot easier. Like, people will get, I don't want to say lucky, but there'll be times where your business is hot and it takes off. But then there will be, in any business, downturns. And if you've spent all your money and you hit a downturn, then you're going to learn, you will eventually have your back against the wall, whether you choose to or not.
It's absolutely crazy. What's been your biggest lesson from building your business? Because you obviously built it at an insane rate. What was your biggest lesson when something was building so fast and these numbers would have been crazy? What was the lesson you learned?
I think the biggest lesson I learned was a lot of our limits as entrepreneurs is just limiting beliefs. So I think the number one thing from stopping people from hitting higher and higher levels is that they just don't think it's possible. Yeah. And it just seems so high that they couldn't possibly do it. But once you remove those negative beliefs and you just kind of let it happen and you see yourself as already doing that, it does happen relatively quickly. But I think it's belief systems. And starting a business, I think, is the best personal development program there is. So usually there's not business problems, there's personal problems that are manifesting in your business, stopping you from growing. So for example, if you're not a leader, you're going to have a very hard time growing a team that looks up to you, that you have to eventually build to grow your company big. So I think your personal weaknesses will manifest themselves in your business. And if you want your business to grow, you have to fix them.
And how did you fix yours? Because you've obviously done a lot of work to be able to pinpoint pinnacle movements that you've had to change to elevate your business. Who helped you direct them? What did you read, or did you have a consultant? Or
I think the biggest thing for me was just learning to hire really smart people and let go. So when I first started as an entrepreneur, I wanted to have my hands in everything. So I would watch like every customer support ticket. I would re-listen to every sales call, and if everything wasn't perfect, I would be like upset, impatient, and kind of like on my team, which obviously is the owner of the company. You can't have your eyes on. Like now we have over 50 employees, so there's no way I could possibly do that. But what allowed us to grow is just me hiring very high-end smart people and then just trusting them to do their job.
And who taught you that skill? Because that's a skill in itself, to be able to like take the ego aside, be like, I need to actually hire better than me, because a lot of people struggle with that. They want to be the boss. If they're building something at such a high level, they want to be, no, I'm the best and I'm the best, but everyone listen to me. So who took the ego away from you to be like, do you know what, I need better? I
don't think I learned it from anywhere specific. I just learned it from my own experience. So we weren't progressing. I was stressed out 24/7 trying to manage all these people, and I thought, like, there's no way I can grow my business like this. Like, something needs to change, and that was what needed to change. So I had to hire someone who could come in, take this off my plate, and then once I had all that headspace back, I could focus on what I'm best at, which is more the marketing side of things, and that's what allowed us to really start scaling. And
going into your marketing scaling, what was your biggest platform that scaled your business to such a large level?
It was Facebook.
Really?
Yeah, so Facebook. So with the e-commerce products, the high-ticket e-commerce products, the biggest was Google. We use Facebook a bit for the education company. Facebook is the biggest. So I've had experience with both Facebook and Google, and they're just good for different things.
Yeah, they've both got different highlights.
Yeah.
And what made you go into the educational platform? Was it people inquiring to you, like, Brooke, I want to know how you made all this money? Or was it you looking at, where can I scale this business?
Yeah, so the first year I owned my business, I didn't have any social media. I had like a personal page, but I wasn't posting at all. Yeah. So I just started, I thought I wanted to have a personal brand. So I joined a program that two of my friends run, and it was essentially just how to start posting online. So I started posting online e-commerce content. I didn't really have any plans to have an education company or anything like that. But once I started posting what I was doing, hundreds, thousands of people started DMing me. And I ended up taking on a few just one-on-one clients, which I found quite quickly was not scalable. So you can only have so many one-on-one clients. So then I actually built the education company with coaches and a team to help essentially meet the demand of people who are DMing me. Is how it started.
Amazing. And what was your first coach you brought on?
The first coach was actually so I took on one-on-one clients. Mm-hmm. They got very, very good results. And then I said, hey, you're essentially my top case studies. Do you guys want to come in and actually be coaches on my team? And they did, and they're actually still coaches to this day.
And that's a really interesting way of hiring off people that you've taught. Have you seen that done in any businesses that you've worked before, or was it just like, do you know what, I'm going to try this idea because they've taught from me and I know, they've learned from me, sorry, bad English, they've learned from me and I know that they're sponges and they're going to replicate exactly what I showed them?
I hadn't seen it done before, but yeah, actually that's something we've kept going. So now we have I believe, 10 coaches, and every one of the coaches has actually been a student who came through the program, saw really good results, and now essentially helps new clients do it. And the reason that works so well is they know our system. So even if someone knows e-commerce and they're very, very smart, getting good results, if they come try and teach how we did it, they might have different beliefs, they might do things differently, which might confuse our clients. So it's just easiest to have people who have literally went through our exact program then teach the program they went through.
100%.
Right?
I guess it's a really good way of growing a business in any way, and it's probably something a lot of entrepreneurs can take from this conversation is if you're all reading from the same hymn sheet that you all learned from, they're going to be so motivated to do you well because you've done them so well. Yeah. It's not you're bringing someone else's food or whatever and bring them in and trying to teach them your ways. They've been brought up in your ways. So interesting. And what was your main drive for coming to Dubai? Obviously you're from a small town in Canada, moved to Toronto. What made you leave Toronto?
The main thing was just honestly the weather. So I hate Canada.
I can see. I think I have that sad depression. It was bloody cold outside yesterday. I couldn't get in my bed. I was like
yeah, so Canada's cold like 8-9 months a year. In the winter it's like I don't mind the snow if it's sunny and you can go skiing and stuff like that, but where we are, it's very just flat, nothing going on, gray clouds all day long, dark at 3 p.m. So I didn't like being there in the winter at all. So I just started looking at places like where is sunny that a lot of entrepreneurs go. So I was considering Bali, I was considering Singapore, I was considering Miami, and I saw a YouTube video of someone in Dubai, and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Like I like it, but I'd never been here before. So I thought I'll just book a hotel for a week and I'll go try it. So I actually came with just a carry-on bag. That's it. Flew here, stayed in the hotel for a week, loved it, and I've never really left since.
Really, I think everyone does that. So many people I speak to, and myself, I came for 10 days and never ever left. Like it's such a Dubai motto, but I feel like it's such an addictive place to live.
It is. Like, it's very hard to leave. Yeah, especially once you're here. Like you just get used to the quality of life and the convenience and how safe it is, and it's a very, very difficult place to leave.
100%. And congratulations, you've just announced you're having a baby and you got engaged, I guess, recently and married. Where did you meet your wife? Was it in Dubai?
So funny enough, we're actually both from Canada. From both two small towns about an hour away. So I moved to Dubai in December of 2022, and we started chatting on Twitter. So she had never really left North America. She had never flown on a plane by herself. So trying to get her to come to Dubai was like a big, big step. Huge thing.
Which she would love because you're an entrepreneur and you love the chase.
Exactly, yes. So we had, I had to FaceTime her parents to meet them, to like, get them to let her come.
Cute.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is we booked her a hotel here for a week that we could meet. And then because I had just moved here, I wasn't going to be back in Canada for like 7-8 months until the summer. So we wanted to meet. So she came, stayed in the hotel for a week, and then we hit it off and she never really left. And then we ended up getting engaged 2 or 3 months after that, after we first met, which was in March of 2023. And then we got married in Lake Como, Italy of June of 2024. And now we're expecting our first baby early in the new year.
That's so cute, and your wife's absolutely glowing. So crazy. And how have you found, like, obviously moving here, there was such challenges, moving away from your home, setting up a business, bringing now your wife over here. What was the biggest mindset challenge you had for all these? Like, I guess you were used to the constants, and then you've changed everything, added so many new things into your life. What was the biggest mindset shift?
For me, it wasn't difficult. So I actually used to play hockey at a high level in Canada. So I moved out when I was 15 for hockey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I had never lived at home for any long period of time in over 10 years when I moved here. So it wasn't overly difficult for me. My wife she's Italian, so she has a huge family back home. So it was more of an adjustment for her. But I think the biggest mindset shift specifically was just Dubai really makes you think bigger. Mm-hmm. So I think being here, the energy of the city, even in Toronto, like Toronto is obviously a big city with a lot of successful people, but particularly young people in the online space, I didn't really know anybody. So Toronto's the biggest city in Canada where if they were there, I would have known who they are, and not many people there. So then as soon as you come to Dubai, you're surrounded by all these like-minded people running similar businesses, and you see the success around you everywhere.
It's crazy.
So yeah, it definitely made me think a lot bigger, and my business since I moved here has, I think, over 8x'd, so 8 times bigger in 2 years, and a lot of the same experience for my friends. So as soon as people move here, their business just seems to take off.
And why do you think that is? Do you think it's through collaboration? Because I know a lot of people in Dubai are very eager to help each other and share tips and hacks and whatnot that help their business expand. Do you think it's down to that, or do you think there's something that you can see that definitely is the reason businesses grow in Dubai?
I think that's definitely one thing. So I have a lot of friends here who've helped me out a ton and helped me grow. But I think the biggest thing is honestly just the environment you're surrounded by. So if just to give you an example, like when I was in Canada, if you told me that my business was going to be doing, or someone's business was doing $1 million a month or $2 million a month, I wouldn't have been able to even comprehend that.
Yeah.
But then when you move to Dubai and you meet people and you see them every day that are doing that, it just kind of forces you to naturally level up, which goes back to what I was saying earlier about your belief system. So if you think like this limit is unattainable, but then you move into a place where that's normal and you see people around you doing that every day, it kind of changes what's normal to you.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to actually see the steps to get there yourself.
How do you find relating back to people that were maybe in your old life, like the people that you used to work with in Toronto and your family? Now you're surrounded with people that are experiencing greatness, and sometimes I have conversations on the podcast, I'm like, people must listen to this and be like, you guys are living in cuckoo land with the numbers that are said. But do you now find it sometimes hard to relate back to people that were in your old house and they just don't get it because maybe you're talking about numbers or spending money that they see as unforeseen?
Yeah, it is very hard to relate. I'm not someone who ever tries to like cut people out and say like I'm up here now, and it's not like that. But in terms of just like general conversation, it is challenging. So like I can't really go to any of my childhood friends and talk to them about my business. So if we catch up, it's nice to catch up and talk about what they're doing and what I'm doing in our families and stuff. But I can't really, in being an entrepreneur, my business is what I do 14 hours a day. It's all I do. It's all I focus on. So I can't really talk about that part of my life with them, which does make it very, very hard to relate. And even in just general conversations and stuff like that, it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, and do you not find as well that you speak in a different way now that you're in Dubai? I feel like it's a lot more educated or a lot more pronounced to what industry you're in, or it's just the way people change. And do you find when you're, and it's interesting, I want to have the conversation, do you find when you're speaking to people back in the US that they're like, what are you on? Are you in a different matrix?
Yeah, I feel like Dubai has people, especially in the West, in Canada and US, have a perception of what Dubai is. And that perception and the reality of Dubai are very, very different. And I was talking to a friend yesterday. He said something really interesting. He said, when you come to Dubai, it matures you a lot. So when I look at pictures of myself from 2 years ago when I moved here, I was very successful for my age. But just like looking at the 2-year difference, if I look at a picture of myself now and then, it was like I was a little kid. Really? Like the amount of growth and maturity that has happened in those 2 years. So I think it's a combination of just the energy of the city, the environment, the people that you're around, and maybe something to do with how far it is. So I think like distance allows you to create new belief systems.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how do you find, obviously your business, you told me most of your clients are in the US. How do you find living so far away? I know I'm getting a flight that's about 18 hours or something ridiculous. Yeah. How do you find managing a business that's 18 hours away and between 8 and 12 hours time difference? How is that struggle?
So or
is it an advantage?
For me, it's an advantage. So I guess now I'm the founder, but I would act as the CMO, so the Chief Marketing Officer. So I would do, everything I do is very just me doing it. I don't do a lot of client-facing stuff now, which is actually an advantage for me because that means all day I don't have emails coming in, I don't have messages coming in. I can just dial in and focus on what I need to focus on. And then when I do have calls, which is a couple days a week, they'll be at night. So it allows me to really focus and dial in during the day. So for me, it's an advantage. If I was doing a lot of client-facing stuff with people in the US, it really depends if you're a morning or an evening person. So if you're someone who would like to wake up, have all day with nothing, go to the gym, go to the beach, and then work or take calls with your clients from, let's say, 5 p.m. until 10 or 11 and go to sleep, it would work great for you. I'm a morning person, so by the time 7 p.m. comes, I do not want to do any work. I just want to relax, have dinner, and kind of call it a night. So it depends on your personal preferences. I do know people who love it, and then I know other people who, if they don't want to take calls at night, and they have to do client-facing stuff, it would be pretty hard.
100%. And are you seeing now a lot more people from the US moving to Dubai? Are you seeing a bigger culture here? So
interestingly, very few people from the US move to Dubai just for tax reasons. So how it works is US is one of the only countries in the world which has global citizen tax. So essentially, I'm sure you would know, but if you have a passport that's a US passport, even if you move to Dubai, you still have to pay tax. So Canada has what's called an exit tax. So when you leave Canada, you have to pay a percentage of tax on all your assets. But once you pay that, you can come to Dubai and then you're no longer in the Canadian tax system. UK, I think, they don't have an exit tax yet. They don't,
yeah. But I think it's definitely going to come in, especially the way the amount of millionaires that have moved out of.
Yeah.
I think it's right behind China. And if you look at the size of the UK compared to China, that's terrifying. But I think the UK are
Which is kind of weird. They're trying to like
wild.
trap people in the country.
It's crazy. Do you know, when I first moved to Dubai 4 years ago, I actually used to sell passports and business setup into the UK. A lot of people don't know this, and I've done it for 2 years, and it's how I ended up in the industry I'm in now. And everyone wanted a UK business, and it used to be super easy to get it, and there was such great ways to get visas and move your family there. And I remember speaking to one of the sheikh's assistants of the families, and we were speaking about it, and he was like, you know, the sun never sets. We love the Queen. This is the best country ever. Who wouldn't want to be there? And then the Russian war started, and then they stopped allowing Dominican passport holders into the UK. They stopped the sole representative program. They changed everything. And I met the same guy, and he went, we used to say the sun never set. Now we say the sun never rises. I was like, oh my goodness. And that was 2 years ago, so I wouldn't even want to know what you would say now. But it's crazy, but it's good for Dubai. I mean, I feel like COVID's kind of reset world order. People now really want to be within the Middle East, and Dubai's really thrived within that area. Maybe Britain and the UK and US, has maybe not adapted as well.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. And I think I have quite a few friends even from Canada moving now. So I think Canada and the UK are quite similar climates now, where even 10 years ago or 5-10 years ago, Canada would have been a great place to run a business. Now, like, it's essentially everyone who sees success in Canada young, the first thing they do is leave.
Really?
Which is very bad for a country if you
Same
think about it.
with the UK.
Like, if you're a country, the last thing you do is want the entrepreneurs, the people who are actually making jobs, to want to get out as quickly as you can. And now they're having to do things like exit tax to try and trap them, unfortunately. But
it's crazy what they do, though. Would you ever now look, I guess Trump's in president, and a lot of people are loving that, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Would you ever think to now move to Miami, or are you very settled in Dubai?
For now, we're settled here, for sure. The one advantage that US has over the Middle East, which maybe it will change, maybe Dubai and the Middle East will improve, is just access to venture capital. So my business now isn't it's not very capital intensive, but let's say if I wanted to start like a health company or something where I needed a big investment of, let's say if I need $20 million to do research and stuff and get investors, it would be quite challenging to do in Dubai.
Yeah.
Where like the venture capital scene in the US, if you have a good idea, you can walk into a room and people will throw money at you to do the idea.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I do think they're trying to bring that into Dubai. And I remember when I first moved to Dubai, you would have probably been the same. We're in the grey area. Dubai is the fastest country to ever get off the grey area in history because of what they were doing. And that's actually, although people I hate corporation tax and people were really against it, the reason they brought in corporation tax was actually to be able to set someone up like yourself to put your business now in a state to be able to sell it, because there's legit corporation tax. There's accounts there that are legit, and obviously that's now attracted Bedrock and JP Morgan to sign. So it's all interesting, and I think we've both came to Dubai at a really optimum time, because I think the growth of it and the structural that is now coming in place that never once was in Dubai is going to allow us to really reap the benefits, because we've already done the fight or flight that everyone has to do in their first few years, and now you're settled and you're going to grow with the UAE as it grows.
I completely agree. Yeah. And I think that's our plan. Is my business is settled here now. I love it here. The quality of life, everything's amazing. So I think longer term, our plan will be to probably be here 9 months a year and probably have a summer house in Europe somewhere, because it is very, very hot in the summertime.
Yes,
which I don't mind. It's nice to lock in, but for wife and kids, probably want to be able to be outside a little
100%. And what has been your biggest learning since being in Dubai? What is something that you've really taken away from the culture?
I think just the power of surrounding yourself with a place that encourages success. So in Canada, if you were to say, I'm 23 years old and I want to be worth $100 million by 30, people would laugh at you, and it's like tall poppy syndrome. So everyone's here. If you want to be above it, they'll try and cut your head off. Yeah. Essentially, where in Dubai, success is encouraged. So it's weird if you don't want to be successful. Yeah. And everyone here is sort of trying to do the same thing in different industries, but everyone's trying to be the best version of themselves, to advance their career, to grow their business. And when you surround yourself, and I think that starts with the leadership here. So you see the rulers of Dubai always said that they want Dubai to be the best. They want to have the best healthcare, the best education. So I think that mindset permeates the entire country. 100%. And I think,
it's like we have like a metal dome around us all. They were all kind of going for the same greatness.
Exactly. Yes.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know what they've done. And looking back at the businesses that you've had when it comes to the university, how have you found educational selling in a country now or the world now that everyone's looking to find better themselves online? How have you found having a business within that industry?
Very, very good question. So I think a lot of people are, and I think part of this is due to social media, but they kind of see through the mirage of the school system. So like you said, if you want to go be a doctor, you want to go be a lawyer, and you can see exactly how the school system is going to get you there, it makes sense. But there's not a lot of practical skills you learn in school. So there's not really a lot of benefit for just going, and it's very, very expensive. Where I think where the online education space is great is it teaches you to do a specific thing. So like if I was to go to school and study business for 4 years, I would have accounting classes and finance classes and all this stuff that I can't actually apply to run a business. Where a company like mine, our goal is we're going to take someone who has no experience, we're going to get them set up with a business from scratch within 2 months. Mm-hmm. So like you literally go from complete beginner, no idea what you're doing, to running a real business where you can sell these $10,000 items in 2 months, where if you go to university, you study for 4 years, spend however many thousands of dollars going, and you haven't really got anything out of it.
Yeah, of course. And then obviously you have unbelievable success stories, but do you ever have people that sign up or people that come to university and then they don't actually learn that much from it? Does that ever happen? Yeah,
so I think the number one reason people fail is they just don't do the work. So it's the best analogy I can give you is like when people sign up to the gym. It sounds great. They're going to get in shape. They're going to look good. They're going to feel great. But then when it comes to actually doing the work and eating healthy and showing up to the gym every day, it's not the vision they had. So the same thing with our program. Most students who put in the work, who actually put in the time, put in the effort, they see results. But there are a lot of people who come in, they give up after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest lesson for us is we've had to design our program to help combat that. So we used to have I would say too much information. So too much things that people felt a little bit overwhelmed when they joined. So we've really streamlined it to the bare minimum so that our goal now is to take people who don't know what this is at all, and we just want to give them as little information as possible so they can go from zero to making their first sale quickly. Because once you get the first sale, and it's the same in anything, I think if you can get people their first win, so their first 10 pounds lost, or we can get them to their first sale, as soon as they see progress, they're exponentially more likely to stay with it and keep going. So it's just getting them their first win.
Do you find people that maybe come on or join these, not only your university, but other universities, they see people's thriving results and then they don't achieve it and then it gets a bad reputation? Why does that happen to these people?
I think the number one thing with that is you have to be very transparent with people up front. So we always say in all of our marketing materials and our contract, we do not guarantee you any results. So all we can do is show you what's worked for our students. And we also have like, I guess it's technically, you have to do this now, but you have to say like, we have this many students, this is how many actually did the program and launched a business, and this is their average results. So we disclose that to people beforehand. But I still think people, like the analogy I gave you earlier on, was when people sign up to something like starting a business, is very much like the gym. Like it sounds great, they're going to get in great shape, but then when it comes to actually doing the work, it's very easy to give up. So I think there's some stat like when people join the gym, only 8% still go after 2 months. So it's very much the same with starting a business. It sounds great, but then when it actually comes to doing the work, it's very difficult for a lot of people to sustain that. Yeah. But the biggest thing that we focus on is, number one, being clear about what to expect early on. So this is the average results of the people who actually do the program. That's number one. And then number two, building our program in a way to actually make getting the first result easy. Because once they get that first result, they're exponentially more likely to actually stay with it long term.
Mm-hmm. And who's like your ideal student? If they're doing this at the side of, I don't know, a job, like would you prefer them to have no job and just be hyper focused, or would you say your ideal student usually has a job or at university?
That's a good question. I think ideally, no. Ideally, like best case scenario, which would be very, very rare, is they've worked a job, they saved up a good amount of money, and they've decided they want to start a business. So they've taken, let's say, a 6-month leave where they have a nice amount of money saved.
Sabbatical.
They can go in and just go all in on the business. That would be best case scenario, which is quite rare. So we have had lots of people who do this alongside their job, but I think it's a lot easier for people to give up if they have stress at work and then they're trying to do their business at night and they have kids and a family. It can get in the way a lot easier. So a lot of our most successful students have been people who have been younger, so not married, no kids, maybe just finished university or maybe working on an online job remotely where they can do this on the side. I think that's another great ideal client, is if they work a job remotely where they can do this at home at the same time.
Yeah. And do you think now, it's interesting you've said it's young people, do you think now just in our generation and where we are in the world, it's definitely the younger people in our generations, let's say, I wouldn't know their generational type, but let's say 16 to 30 are the people now that really have the hunger and the drive to have these super successful life stories and be able to strive for greatness and actually see it as attainable, whereas maybe people plus 30 to 50 now kind of are happy with their boundaries that they've set? I
think, we've had lots of people older succeed, but I think older people, generally speaking, are more set in their ways, especially if they have a family and kids. It's a lot harder to rewire their beliefs.
Yeah.
And a lot bigger risk to do things like starting a business, where when you're younger, and especially I think tech, just general tech skills plays a big role in it. Like if you're someone who touches your laptop once every 4 months, it's going to be hard to take the laptop out and work on it 2 or 3 hours a day and build an online business. Where our younger generation, we did school on our laptops. We're just more tech savvy, which does make just running an online business naturally easier.
It'll be super interesting as well. My little sister's 13 and now at school everyone is required to have a laptop or an iPad, and when I was at school I was one of the few, because of dyslexia, that I needed a laptop. Like I couldn't do it without it, so I definitely transitioned into the workplace at a much faster rate because I was always used to having everything online. I wonder now, when it comes to even the younger generations, how fast they will be to adapt, and now the utilisation of AI, how quick they will to build a business. Have you been able to utilize AI at all?
We use it a lot. So I use it all the time in my business, just for small things. So I'll say like, organize this data for me, or rewrite this, or clean this up for me, sort of thing. So I use it all the time, and we're actually building right now. So how our program is you're inside of a Slack channel, which is essentially just like a server where you can message the coaches. Yeah. So what we're doing with AI now is we're going to have all of our previous messages will be trained on an AI. All of our previous coaching calls will be trained on an AI. So now when someone asks a question, rather than having to wait for a coach to respond, the AI can just say, this was answered on this call at this time, here's the answer.
Oh, wow. So it's like a full software you're building.
With all the data we have in our messages and our calls. So now the AI will be trained and it can say, like, this was answered on this call at this time. Here's the link to the call. Go listen to the answer. And
what's your plan with that software? Is it to enroll it to all your businesses, or is it to sell it?
So it's actually, we're just going to use it in our business right now, just with our existing clients. So right now, like, one of the biggest bottlenecks to us growing is every time we want to scale, we have to hire more coaches, and then we have to train the coaches. And it's
like a whole, isn't it?
Exactly. Where now, if we can have this AI that takes a lot of the burden off the coaches, it'll be a lot more scalable business and even a lot more sellable. So it's a lot more valuable.
Yeah.
And then we can roll this out to other clients as well. And there's really endless things you can do with AI, like even on your customer support, on your e-commerce store. I think eventually it will even replace sales calls. So rather than having to speak with a sales rep, we can have an AI that's trained on 10,000 sales calls that people just talk to the AI.
But then do you not find that really like scary in a sense? Because I know the clients I deal with, and I guess mine's is a different sale. I'm selling a property.
Yeah.
So a property is probably a lot more like, you need to deal with them, you need to know who you're selling, you need to understand their results and what they're looking for from that property or that investment. Do you think an AI would be able to replicate that on all levels, or do you think it'll just be on some certain like smaller sales?
I think it will make the top end people more valuable. So for example, let's say if you run an email agency where you write emails for clients, you're the owner, you're the most knowledgeable person, and let's say you have 10 employees who are writing the emails. I think you'll be able to run the business with you, 2 employees, and AI. So I think you still have to have someone running the AI who knows what they're talking about to know how to train it and to know how to direct the prompts. But I think I think the best thing for AI is to be an entrepreneur. So I would not want to work a job.
Yeah.
Then I would be very scared of getting replaced. But I think AI will actually make entrepreneurs more productive, and it will actually lower our costs. We won't need a team. Yeah. We'll just be able to use AI to replace a lot of the jobs that are within the business. Yeah.
I use it every day and I couldn't live without it when it comes to marketing, rewriting every single thing, because it's just something I'm used to now, and it's like my little PA. As it becomes your left-hand man, and I think everyone I've spoken to that is an entrepreneur does really utilize it to its full potential. Then it's been interesting when you probably speak to friends that have a job, you're like, we're not allowed to use it.
So do you find houses for people, for clients?
Not through, I do, but we do it off plan. So I sell a lot more of off plan. We actually have a second team that does the secondary, but I don't use it for that. I'll maybe use it for like when you're selling off plan, because you're selling a piece of paper, let's for say, you're not selling something that's ready. So people want to run the numbers, people want to run it to a comparable. So I'll use it to calculate numbers on a faster level than me typing in a calculator. I'll just do all the conditions, what the price is at blah, 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 and it'll flip it out within 2 minutes. So you could be in a meeting and we could be like, well, what does that mean? You can chuck it through AI. And I say it now, it's like a right-hand man. It's saving me, let's say, 10 minutes of losing the conversation because I'm typing in numbers and writing it down. I now have a formula that I know works for AI, and we know what we're getting out of it, that'll spit it out within seconds.
Interesting. And I was just thinking, like, it would not surprise me if soon there's an AI that, for example, it can analyze all the sales in Dubai, property sales over the last 3 years. It can pick out the top 5% that had the highest investment gain, and then it can compare that to all the off-plan properties now, sort by area, sort by price, and
I think they've done that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
I think someone's done it already.
Yeah.
Ryan Serhant done a conference, and there was a similar thing that they were doing it. They were speaking about something like that through like Property Finder and DXB, but AI has got so much potential to make everyone's life easier, and I always find it interesting if people see it as a hindrance or an excel, and it's you can definitely see the minds of people that see it as a hindrance compared to the people that see it as a help.
I think, it's really impossible to say what it's going to do, but I think, generally speaking, I would be a pretty tech for. So I think, for example, if you went to 1995 and told people what the internet was going to be, they would have been scared. Very much like people are scared with AI now. But I think the best position to be in is just to be an entrepreneur business where you're actually, entrepreneurs are the ones that benefit from things like this. So I'm not worried personally.
No, neither at all. And to just wrap up all the great conversation we've had, what if you were to do it all again, speaking to your younger self, what would be your advice to him?
Definitely start a business sooner. So I think start a business as early as you can. Don't be afraid to take risks. So I think when you're younger, a lot of the risk you perceive when you're starting a business is just made up. So for example, when I was starting my business, what was the worst case scenario? So the worst case scenario was the business, I drop out of law school, the business blows up, it doesn't work. I move in with my parents, I probably get a part-time job and start another business. That's the worst possible thing that could happen, which isn't that bad. And I think
especially at your age, it's a norm for most people.
Yeah. And I think like the risk you take to start a business, you get the upside of building the life you actually dream of. Where if you, some people might dream to be a teacher, and if that's you, then by all means, go do it. But if you dream of bigger for yourself, and if you want to live differently than the path you're on now, a far bigger risk is to live a life you're unhappy with, to go work a job you hate for the next 30 years. So the risk of starting a business is very, very small compared to that. Waking up at 70 years old one day, you never pursued your goals, you never pursued your dreams, and then it's too late. So I think the biggest thing is to just start, and then the doors will open. So I think a lot of people want to have their path from starting to being this super wealthy, successful entrepreneur, and it doesn't work that way. You just have to start, and then as you start, the doors will begin to open, and it'll all make sense looking back rather than forward.
I always think the journey actually is far more fun than the destination, and you set these goals and you reach them, and you forget you've even set that goal, and you surpass it, and then you look back, and then you'll know yourself. Sometimes you really have to take time to focus and have gratitude and reflect, because the journey can be so much fun and it's so enlightening, and you forget that you've already reached the goal. But thank you so much for coming on. It was a great conversation, and I look forward to seeing when your business excels even further and meeting the baby.
Thank you very much for having me on. It was a blast. Thank you.